All right, so OpenAI, they're back at it, right? But this isn't about some super smart language model this time. This is different. They're asking, what if AI could work in teams?
Yeah, like a whole new ballgame.
That's where Swarm comes in. And we're going deep on this one. Their research, the code,
All of it.
to figure out, is this the future of AI or is this like straight out a sci-fi movie?
See, what's really interesting here, it's a real shift for OpenAI. Instead of that one massive AI brain, they're exploring, what if you have specialized AI agents all working together, like assembling that dream team?
Okay, so instead of one AI trying to do it all, it's more like delegating tasks to whoever's the best fit.
Exactly.
That makes a lot of sense when you put it that way.
Think about it. If you had to plan like a really complex trip, you wouldn't rely on just one person to handle every detail.
Right.
You've got your travel agent, they're handling the flights, right?
Of course.
Then you got your foodie friend who's like the expert on the best restaurants, maybe even a local guide for those insider tips.
Makes sense.
That's kind of the specialized teamwork that OpenAI is going for here.
So wait, does this mean no more endless phone menus? No more getting bounced around departments when I need help? Because I'm so on board with that.
Yeah.
But okay, seriously, how does this even work? This swarm thing?
So two big ideas here, handoffs and routines, right?
Okay.
Imagine you ask your AI assistant, hey, is it going to rain tomorrow? Now, instead of trying to be the weather expert, right, it can hand off that query to a specialized weather AI. That's part of the swarm.
So it's about each AI playing to its strengths. I like it. And what about those routines you mentioned? Are those like instructions for these AI agents?
Yeah, precisely. Think of routines as like predefined workflows.
Okay.
Like giving each AI agent a playbook. If this happens, then do that. If you run into this problem, hand it off to this other agent.
Right.
It makes the whole system super robust, reliable. Because each agent knows exactly what it's supposed to do and who to call for help if things get tricky.
It's like giving AI a set of tools and then, crucially, the know-how to actually use those tools. I was reading the Decoder article, and they called this agentic AI, which, okay, sounds really cool, but also a little vague. What does that actually mean?
That's a great question. So agentic AI really signifies that each AI in the swarm, it's not just passively processing data.
Right.
It's acting more like an independent agent.
Hence the name, I guess.
Exactly. Each one has its own set of instructions, tools, and even the ability to collaborate with others to reach a goal.
So these AI agents are a bit more proactive. Like instead of just responding to commands, they can make decisions and actually work together.
Exactly. And that is a crucial distinction. They've got this degree of autonomy within their defined rules, of course.
Yeah.
But that's what allows for this much more dynamic and efficient problem solving.
Well, that is what I call teamwork.
They even gave that example about booking a flight.
Yeah.
And then based on your preferences, even collecting data. Talk about a personalized experience, right?
That's next level stuff right there.
Streamlining tasks, making those AI interactions smoother, more intuitive, you know?
Yeah, totally.
But what I think is really groundbreaking here, Swarm is open source.
Hold on, open source. So anyone can just download Swarm and create their own AI team?
Not exactly, no. Open source means that developers can access and modify that core code,
Okay.
which is huge for innovation.
Gotcha.
Think of it like a collaborative science project, you know?
Yeah.
Everyone's building on each other's work, moving things forward.
So less AI army in every basement and more, let's all work together to unlock this thing's potential. Got it.
Exactly. OpenAI is encouraging everyone to experiment with Swarm. It's about seeing what's possible with this multi-agent AI.
And just to be clear, this is all still super experimental, right? Like, it's not like we're all going to have our own personal AI teams by next week.
Not just yet. The potential's huge, absolutely. But OpenAI has been clear about this. Swarm's in its early stages.
Right.
Think of it as a glimpse into the future.
A very exciting glimpse, I'd say. So we've got the what of Swarm figured out. Specialized AI, routines, those handoffs. But before we go any further, let's talk about why this even matters. Cool, so AI can collaborate now. But what's that mean for, like, me or, anyone listening?
That is the million-dollar question, isn't it? And that is exactly what we will unpack after the break. From revolutionizing customer service to maybe even unlocking whole new levels of AI intelligence, the implications here are huge.
Okay, now you've really got me hooked. We'll be right back to dive deeper into the why of OpenAI Swarm. Stay with us. So we've established OpenAI Swarm. It's all about AI teamwork, these specialized agents, routines, all that. But what about the real-world impact here? You're saying this could actually change things in a big way.
Oh, absolutely. Big time. Think about all those times you're stuck on hold. Customer service, right?
Oh, the worst.
Getting transferred from one department to the next. With a system like Swarm, you could have a whole team of AI agents working together behind the scenes to solve your problem, each one with their own little area of expertise.
Okay, so instead of explaining my issue over and over again, the AI agents could just seamlessly share information and actually collaborate to find a solution.
Exactly.
That would be amazing. No more repeating my account number for the 100th time.
Exactly. And it's not just about efficiency. Imagine AI agents that have actually looked at your past interactions. They understand your preferences and can proactively offer you solutions tailored to you. That's the kind of personalized experience Swarm could bring.
Okay, see, now that is what I call customer service. It sounds like something straight out of a movie, but it's actually happening. What other areas could Swarm impact?
Well, think about research, right? Really complex research projects. Imagine a team of AI agents, each one specializing in a different part of that topic,
Yeah.
working together to gather information, analyze it, put it all together. Swarm could completely change how we do research, lead to all sorts of discoveries.
Wow, so it's like having an army of research assistants, each with their own unique skills, working around the clock.
Exactly.
And because Swarm is open source,
Right.
developers can build on top of it, explore its potential in pretty much any field, right? Healthcare, finance, education.
Absolutely, the sky's the limit.
Speaking of pushing boundaries, OpenAI seems to think that these multi-agent systems, like Swarm, could be a key step towards something even bigger. AGI, right?
That's right.
Artificial General Intelligence.
The kind of AI that can perform any intellectual task a human can.
Okay, so let me get this straight. We're not just talking about AI that can book flights or answer questions anymore, but AI that can actually think for itself, solve complex problems, potentially even, understand the world the way we do.
That's the ultimate goal. Now, we're still a ways away from AGI for sure, but Swarm represents a significant step in that direction. It's about studying how those AI agents interact, how they learn within this framework. And maybe then we can understand the nature of intelligence itself.
That is a pretty profound thought. So we're not just building smarter machines, but
Mm.
potentially unlocking the secrets of our own minds along the way.
You get
It's fascinating, but with all this talk of super intelligent AI, it's hard not to think about, what could go wrong? I mean, every sci-fi movie ever made has that cautionary tale, AI gone rogue, all that.
Of course, you're right to be cautious. Any technology that's potentially transformative,
Mm-hmm.
it comes with risks, for sure.
So how do we make sure that these AI systems, that they stay under human control, especially as they become more and more complex, more autonomous?
Well, that's the billion-dollar question, right? It's something that researchers, developers, they're all grappling with that right now.
Feels like a pretty heavy responsibility. I mean, we're talking about the future of intelligence here, artificial and our own.
Absolutely. This is not something to be taken lightly. As we keep exploring these multi-agent AI systems like Swarm, we have to proceed thoughtfully, responsibly, always keeping in mind those ethical implications and the potential consequences, what we're creating here.
It sounds like OpenAI is at least aware of these concerns, right? I mean, making Swarm open source,
Yeah.
encouraging transparency, all that.
Yeah, definitely a step in the right direction.
But even so, it's hard not to feel a little, I don't know, should we be excited or terrified?
Honestly, I think a bit of both is probably the right answer.
Yeah, right.
We're venturing into uncharted territory here. Little excitement, a little apprehension, that's natural.
I couldn't have said it better myself. This whole conversation has been wild. From how Swarm actually works to the mind-blowing possibilities of AGI.
It's been quite the deep dive, for sure.
That really has.
But before we get too caught up in the future, let's come back to what makes Swarm so interesting right now. It's not just the technology, but what it could unlock. For collaboration, innovation, really understanding intelligence better.
You're right. Sometimes the most exciting breakthroughs come from just asking the right questions, challenging what we think we know, right?
Absolutely.
Approaching things in a new way.
OpenAI Swarm is a perfect example of that. It's a testament to the power of collaboration. And not just between AI, but between humans too,
So what's the final takeaway here? What do we want our listeners to really think about as they go about their day, encountering AI everywhere?
I think the biggest takeaway is this. The future of AI, it's not about building bigger, smarter machines. It's about building systems that can work together, learn from each other, and ultimately help us in ways we can only just start to imagine right now.
I love that. It's not about replacing us. It's about amplifying what we can do, collaborating with AI, maybe even learning from it.
Exactly.
And who knows, maybe we'll learn a thing or two about ourselves along the way, right?
You got it.
It's funny. We started talking about AI customer service,
Yeah.
and now we're like having an existential crisis about the future of intelligence?
That's the thing with these deep dives, right?
Yeah.
Never quite know where you'll end up.
That's the truth. But before we get too philosophical here, let's bring it back to Swarm. We've talked about the what and the why, but what about the how?
Yeah.
Like, what actually makes this whole multi-agent thing work?
So at its core, Swarm is about letting these AI agents work together really seamlessly. Think of it this way. Each agent is like a specialized program, right?
Okay.
Almost like a mini AI. And it's got its own set of skills, knowledge.
So, like our travel agent, foodie friend, and local guide from before.
Yeah, exactly. But now imagine those guys could instantly share info, coordinate everything they do. That's basically what's happening inside Swarm.
Okay.
These agents are talking to each other, collaborating through this shared platform. They're sending data back and forth, tasks, even learning from each other as they go.
So it's not just about those routines we talked about. Like, they can adapt.
That's the really cool part.
Learn on the fly.
They're watching each other, seeing what works,
Interesting.
and then they refine their own strategies,
Wow.
becoming more efficient, more effective all the time.
That's amazing. But, okay, this all sounds incredibly complicated. What's the, secret sauce here? What makes this kind of AI coordination even possible?
I saw a whole bunch of really cutting-edge AI research, honestly. We're talking about stuff like reinforcement learning,
Oh, right.
where the agents are learning by trying things out,
Yeah.
making mistakes, getting better.
And then there's natural language processing too, right?
Yeah, exactly.
Yeah.
That's what lets them actually understand each other,
Hmm.
communicate, almost like they're speaking their own language.
So they've got their own secret language, which is kind of creepy, but also really cool.
It is pretty wild, yeah. And it just shows how fast AI is moving these days.
It really does. Makes you wonder where this all goes? What happens when it's not just AI collaborating within one system, but different AI talking to each other across platforms, across the world even?
It's hard to even imagine, right?
Feels very sci-fi.
Definitely a future full of possibilities. Some exciting, some maybe a little scary.
For sure.
As we keep developing this stuff, we've got to be careful.
Yeah.
Make sure these advancements are actually good for humanity.
That's a really important point. I mean, OpenAI, making Swarm open source, encouraging people to look at it, that's gotta help.
Transparency is definitely key.
Yeah. But still, it's a lot to wrap your head around.
It really is.
Well, I think OpenAI's Swarm is a really interesting peek into the future, where AI isn't just about building smarter machines, it's about building smarter collaborations. And that's something we can all learn from, I think.
Absolutely.
Whether you're an AI researcher or just, trying to figure out life.
It's all about working together, right?
Exactly.
Like sharing knowledge, pushing those boundaries.
It's what it's all about. Well, that about wraps up this episode of The Deep Dive. We hope you've enjoyed this little journey into OpenAI's Swarm and the whole world of AI and what it might become. For everyone listening, if you're curious, keep digging. There's a ton of info out there about this stuff. Until next time, keep asking those questions, keep learning, and keep diving deep.